The Penguin will be the reason why Robin will be introduced in Matt Reeves' second Batman film. And here's how. Hey there, this is your Matt Doodle, Tuma Thomas Hands, Doodlema here with another video. And today, I want to talk about this theory I've had on how Matt Reeves could easily introduce Robin and still keep it grounded. Now, I know some of you are going to say, how would you introduce Robin if Matt Reeves has said multiple times he wants to keep the world grounded and quote-unquote realistic? Well, one, I don't really think the world is realistic. There are things in the first movie that have shown that this world is not 100% realistic, from Batman's gadgets, like his camera contacts that he wears throughout the entire film that can record anything. I'm pretty sure that doesn't exist, at least not the way they show it in this film. To him surviving impossible odds, like the crash he had when he was trying to escape the police. That did not look like he could survive that. I don't care how much armor you had. And the whole city. The city is a grimy, disgusting mess, and it's extremely exaggerated to the point on how it rains all the time, to how there's worse crime than possible. And I don't find that realistic, but that's okay, because it doesn't matter if it's not realistic. What matters is if the people in the world see it as real. And that's what makes us see it as real. And even though Matt Reeves has said that, he wants to keep the world grounded, he has also said he wants to introduce Robin in this universe and still keep him a kid. And I think I figured out how they can do that with a character they made an entire show about, the Penguin. Now, I was having such a hard time on figuring out how exactly Robin would be introduced, because I originally made a video on how Batman will be much brighter and more hopeful, and I had a sprinkle of how Robin could be introduced, but it wasn't long enough to make an entire video, so I was stumped. But then when the Penguin show came out, I had this giant theory come up on how they could actually introduce him. Now, you may be wondering, how does Penguin, a gross, disgusting, beautiful show, get me to have a theory on how they could bring in the most hopeful part of Batman? Well, it's actually from a character named Vic. Oh, and before I forget, I should mention this show does have spoilers to the Batman and the Penguin, so if you haven't watched those, please go watch them. It's really good, actually. But if you have or don't care about spoilers, stay with me to this theory I have. Victor was a character they introduced in the Penguin that was introduced as someone jacking the Penguin's car, and the Penguin, quote-unquote, taking Victor in. Now, if that sounds familiar, that seems like a reference to the second Robin, Jason Todd, when he jacked the Batmobile's ride and Batman saw something in him to, be better instead of him going into the streets. Now, you may be saying, oh, so you're just going to introduce Jason Todd as the first Robin. No, not at all. The reason why is because that would be too obvious. And also, why would we introduce the second Robin in a younger version of Batman's story? Because in normal cases, Jason is considered, the more brash Robin, the more angry Robin. I know that's not exactly how he originally was, and he was a little more hopeful, and he got older to be a little more gritty. But I feel like the best character that would actually align more to Batman is Dick Grayson. And the reason I say that is because their origins are so alike, to the point where it would make sense, because the point of the first film was that Batman had to learn to be more than just a vigilante and actually be a hero. And if you introduce Dick Grayson, you can get to that point. Now, the rest of this video is more of my own little theory on how they can introduce Robin Dick Grayson in here, because I'm not 100% sure if that's how they're going to introduce him in the movie. But the way I think about it is that, like I said, Batman's whole progression of the first film needs to be a better person. And this second film could elaborate on that with Dick Grayson. Because the mayor of the first movie said Bruce Wayne should do more philanthropy, like his parents did.
You really could be doing more for this city. Your family has a history of philanthropy, but as far as I can tell, you're not doing anything.
And since Batman's being a hero, he probably needs to, have the Bruce Wayne identity to actually do that with the money, and show up to the charities and helping people as he learns to do in the first movie, right? And so maybe he goes to a circus, right, for a charity or something, for orphans or something like that, because he is an orphan himself, and this is Batman. So he probably brings a lot of kids to to watch a circus, right? And they have acrobats there, the Flying Graysons. And I make it to the point where Dick Grayson is not really shown. This is kind of like his first time being introduced as part of the Flying Graysons because, he's a kid. Also, to make it harder for people to know that Dick Grayson is Robin for when Bruce eventually adopts him, to make it quote unquote more realistic on how no one knows that Robin is Dick Grayson. And the way I'd see it is that they're all there. Bruce is trying to be charitable, for the cameras and everything like that. And they watch the show of these acrobats working, and then the normal origin of Dick Grayson happens. The parents miss the bar to catch them because it was tampered, and they die in front of Dick Grayson, which traumatizes him, just like Bruce Wayne. Because to Dick, he probably believes that he would try to help, just like Bruce did with his parents. And the thing is, Bruce would also be there to see exactly to see what happens. And he couldn't do anything this time, which goes back to him, feeling bad for letting the same thing happen to someone else to what happened to him. So it would make him feel horrible. So I feel like Bruce, again, trying to be a good person and probably a push of Alfred, because it seems like in the first movie, Alfred and Bruce mended their relationship and Bruce trusts him more. So probably Alfred is the one that recommended to tell Bruce, hey, this kid is like you. You need to be the one to be able to help them, because Dick would not have anyone to be there for him. He would not have a family. He doesn't have grandparents. He doesn't have anything. For Bruce, he knew that if he didn't have at least Alfred, he would be a complete, probably put back in crime, which I think is a parallel to what happened to Victor in The Penguin. In the show, Victor had no one because his family died in the flood. And that's how he got into the Penguin Circle and how he got manipulated to be with the Penguin, and how crime just made everything worse for him, because he did have loving parents that would, try to teach him right from wrong. Because they were gone, he went to a life of crime that ended in his death from someone he quote unquote trusted. So seeing that parallel, if you've seen the show, you would get how this is more impactful. And the other reason why I also said that Penguin's going to be the reason why Robin will exist is because normal cases, the person that, sabotages the show is Tony Zuko. But I feel like it would just be really weird to just introduce a completely new bad guy for no reason other than just, hey, they need to make his origin, right? I feel like it'd be a little more interesting if the Penguin is the one that causes Dick's parents to die. And it's not that big of a stretch, because there have been moments where they changed Dick's origin on who killed him. Like in the Batman Forever movie where it was Two-Face instead of Tony Zuko. It'd be interesting if maybe they were supposed to pay the Penguin now, because he's the highest top character now, being rich and everything he wanted, right? And the Penguin thinks he can squish the little person, right? And when they refuse to pay him, he sabotages his parents so he still looks squeaky clean. Because that was the whole point of the Penguin, that he makes himself look like he's squeaky clean. And so in this one, Dick would have so much anger because maybe he saw the Penguin do it, or someone like him. He has so much anger and wants to go after the Penguin and his goons. And because he's in the care of Bruce, he's not going to want him to do that, because he knows what that kind of revenge does to a person, since we saw that in the first movie and what that leads. And because Bruce is in a redemption arc, they can show Bruce trying to be a father. Because the thing is, Alfred even said that when he was raising Bruce, he said, I did the best I could, but you needed a father. And they mended the relationship that way, by actually talking.
I could see the fear in your eyes, but I didn't know how to help. I could teach you how to fight, but I wasn't equipped to take care of you. You needed a father.
So in this one, Dick would have Bruce and Alfred to help him out. And Alfred would be the one, to encourage Dick to be a little more positive and help out. And I don't see Dick realizing that Bruce is Batman. I see that maybe Dick actually tries to do what Bruce did originally. Go and fight crime or try to hunt down the killers of his parents without Bruce or Alfred knowing. And that would cause Bruce, while he's being Batman, to catch Dick in the act of, trying to be a vigilante like him. And then we can see how dangerous having a kid try to be a vigilante could actually be, and how brutal it is. But because Dick is a kid, he's gonna try to stop him fast, tell him you can't do that, actually try to be responsible. But we know how Gotham City is in this in this version, it is sick, it's disgusting, it will drag you down to be the worst version of yourself. So, you may be saying, shouldn't Bruce try to get Dick to just stop being Robin, right? Normally, yes. But again, we've seen that in this world, the way they introduce Gotham, there's no such thing as being a good person. So no matter how much Bruce would try to hold Dick to being home, he knows that he cannot just extinguish that fired anger that Dick has to stop his killers, because he wouldn't stop. And he pushed Alfred away. So he probably says, hey, if I can't stop this kid from hurting himself, I better do something about it. Maybe he'd be like, hey, if I can't stop you, I better train you so you have a better chance of being safe and not hurt yourself. And probably Alfred would encourage that, because again, Alfred trained Bruce how to fight. So it would make 100% sense. And you may be wondering, how would Dick Grayson have his, Robin costume colors? Well, you could do it that those were the colors of his parents' outfits when he was doing acrobats, or at least somewhat colorful about it. And maybe he may tell Bruce that he needs to have these colors in his suit because it's the only thing I have from my parents.
The reason why this costume has to be so colorful?
Because when I see you up there, Richard, you make me think of a little Robin.
And maybe Batman won't like it, but maybe Alfred would be like, hey, he needs this. He needs some joy in it. And maybe the world will see Batman being a little more positive, and maybe, he'll change his costume to be a little more colorful too. And that's how I could introduce Robin being in this quote-unquote realistic world. Maybe you tone down the acrobatics. But again, Dick Grayson is an acrobat. He's going to be a lot more flexible than the average kid. And we'll probably be able to see that in this film. And ever since the Penguin came out, everyone's wanted to see the Penguin get his ass kicked so hard by Batman because of what the Penguin did. But what if instead of Batman kicking his ass, it's a small boy kicking the Penguin's ass instead? That'd be funny and so embarrassing to the Penguin, and that would feel so good for what the Penguin did. And I'm not saying that Bruce would be like, the most perfect parent ever, to Dick, but that would be the cool thing about this movie, that we get to see Bruce be better and better as a person because of his new son, which I think would be a cool thing to show, that Bruce is learning to be a dad to a kid who lost everything just like him. And Alfred would be like that cool grandpa because, he's old too. So that's just my way of introducing Robin in the second Matt Reeves Batman film. Now, what do you think? Do you think I'm being crazy? Do you think that this is way too wacky to be introduced in a film? Please let me know. I'd really like to know all your opinions. Do you have another way of showing how Robin could be introduced in the second Batman film? I'm open to all your thoughts. And hey, if there's nothing else, this has been Doodlemite. I hope everyone stays nerdy, and I'll see everyone in the next video. Bye!